Thank you for staying with PNG tonight. We continue the interview with the Minister for Climate Change, John Pundari. Minister, you were talking about that international forum in Paris that you went to in France. Yes. Tell us about that, our input there and what we were able to gain from it.
As I was answering your question, I think it reminded me of this green technology vehicles, that is powered by electrical vehicles. I had the comfort of riding in a number of them. They were provided at the Paris conference.
Okay.
Very comfortable, very spacious, and runs at about 160 kilometers an hour. I mean, it is quite amazing.
What is it powered by?
Electricity, batteries.
Just batteries?
Yeah, you just charge them up.
So you're reducing carbon dioxide?
Exactly right. It doesn't emit any carbon.
Okay.
Doesn't emit any carbon. But it's a means of transportation. Now, when you talk about diversifying your economic revenue base, we need to be innovative. We need to be a player in this part of the region and make some significant contributions. Open up and attract investors in areas like that to come and build these industries in our country. That was what I was trying to get on earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Paris conference went successfully well. As a small country, we did very well. And I'm very, very happy with the Paris outcome. Papua New Guinea played a very significant role in some of the negotiations over there. And I'm very happy.
What about countries that have virtually been responsible for the greenhouse gas and the weather change, the rising sea levels, are getting together to help countries, vulnerable countries like us in the Pacific, and I think in this case Papua New Guinea is in real trouble.
Yes.
How are they helping us? What was some of the things said over there?
Well, the Paris Agreement was something that we wanted it to be an ambitious one.
Okay.
We wanted to achieve the best that the global community could agree to.
Okay.
You would have been there to listen to my final statement that I presented
I wish I was there.
Conference.
I didn't go. All right. Think about me in the next trip, will you? Okay.
Well, one of the things that I said in that statement was this. I think there is a differentiated approach by different countries as to how much volume of carbon they can be able to reduce, and therefore reducing the global warming that affects different climate events around the world.
Right.
One of the points I made was I thought we weren't aggressive enough when it came to the temperature reduction.
Okay.
Our Prime Minister, when he delivered the first statement there, we wanted to stay at 1.5 degrees Celsius and below. But when the developed countries came on board, they felt the better compromise was a 2% degrees Celsius.
Okay.
And that is what the Paris Agreement agreed to at the end of the day. Small developing island states like ourselves and others in the Pacific and the global community, especially less developed countries as well, had to somewhat compromise with it. Now, whilst we appreciate and we welcome the fact that developed countries, industrialized nations, great emitters of carbon, are contributing to the Green Climate Fund to help support vulnerable nations like ourselves and others in the Pacific to adapt and to be resilient to climate change. Whilst we welcome, we appreciate that, we would be more happier and be more appreciative to the industrialized nations and the developed nations who are putting up the money to be aggressive in reducing carbon emission, because
at the same time as giving
that
money.
is...
All right, if they give us the money, say Papua New Guinea gets about 10 million. All right, is that enough of the money, of the fund that's there? Is Papua New Guinea getting enough? Because the damage is huge to this country.
Well, 10 million isn't enough 10
No.
million isn't enough. Maybe 100 million won't be even enough
No.
in the US dollars. At the end of the day, they flag and announce a lot of money to support the vulnerable nations.
Yes, yes.
But they also make it so very, very difficult with stringent conditions for us to access the money.
All right.
Now, you tell me, we haven't accessed a single cent
Not
from
yet.
the Green Climate Fund. And when we were there, I had meetings at a bilateral level with the Green Climate officials, some very high-ranking executives, and I said, hey, listen, you boast about so much funding, but why do you make it so very difficult for the very vulnerable nations, especially us in the Pacific, to access the funds?
Okay, okay.
And this was one of the things that was aggressively discussed at the Paris conference. We said, finance, yes, but accessibility, make it easier.
You see, the other thing is, even though if we could access it, aren't they not giving in their advices and their expertise to come in here and tell us how to do things and, in fact, get the money? It's boomerang money.
Oh, exactly right. You are right. You have hit the nail right on the head. This is what I have been saying all the time. I'll give you one example. You talk about Global Environment Fund. Since I became Minister for Environment, they told me that over the last decade or two, Papua New Guinea benefited of about 20 to 40 million US dollars.
Wow. That's
now, well, thank you very much. But where is a tangible conservation project in Papua New Guinea, you tell me, that values against that kind of money invested in Papua New Guinea? I'll give you one example. There was a 5 million kina earmarked for a certain program. How much were we left with at the end of the day? When all the consultants and the middlemen had come and gone, 500,000 kina. This is why I say, if you're out there flagging so much money under the schemes of conservation, biodiversity protection, or climate change for that matter, if you are concerned about the vulnerables like my country, Papua New Guinea, or Fiji, Vanuatu, you look at the fact that we have been hit by extreme climate events in the Pacific. Right. It's not our cause, but what I'm saying is, it's about time that these institutions start having confidence in elected governments of the people, in the process and the systems that are established to manage financial affairs. Now, if you continue to shy away from government mechanisms, agencies of the state, processes that I believe are accountable anyway, very transparent anyway, then you banner funds with civil societies, consultants, administrators' fees, etc. And you're right, at the end of the day, you're left with... So the challenge I've given them is, I said, hey, listen, come to PNG, help us see the legislative framework that we have developed, look at our policies. I think we are about 60 to 70% of the way in building our own capacity that can be able to win your confidence, so you can work directly with us. If there is anything that you need to help us complete capacity building, developing it, so as to having a stringent and a robust mechanism, a framework that we can have the accreditation to this institution and be able to work directly with them, then that would be the way forward for us as a country.
It would be ideal. But in the event that they say no, what can the Pacific Island countries do? How do you go in as a big voice together rather than Fiji, Solomon Islands, and Papua New Guinea here?
Well, I tell you, we secured Article 9 at the Paris conference. We had this one collective voice. We went with this painful experience of not being able to accessing this finance, and therefore accessibility made easier was a voice in unity. So we've secured Article 9 of the Paris conference.
So here are these developed countries responsible for a lot of carbon dioxide out there, and then telling us to do things that are like atmosphere friendly, and yet they have damaged it and they're telling us to do that. I mean, it's a little bit of an irony that they do that.
See, the root causes of climate change I believe, are mitigated by two very, very important elements. First is the reduction of carbon emission. That is number one that mitigates and addresses the root causes of climate change. Second, for us as Papua New Guinea, we rank number 3 in the world insofar as our virgin rainforest is concerned.
Yes.
This is just, basic science of high school. Natural processes of photosynthesis. What does it do? It cleans all the pollutants, absorbs carbon dioxide, gives us this clean, fresh oxygen, stocks this carbon in its trunks, etc. That is what you measure in the layman's language and be able to trade that, if you know what I mean. So Papua New Guinea, though small, though a not great emitter of carbon, we are very, very ambitious. We're making significant contributions to the global community.
Very good.
And as your Minister for Climate Change, I'm very proud of the fact that by 2030, we would have reduced our carbon emission by about 50% and carbon neutral by 2050.
Great news. Minister, we are running out of time. We'll leave it there, but just one question. Are you friends with the member for Kiriwina, good enough, who you had a go?
He's my brother, He's my brother. I mean, unfortunate things happen in politics, and sometimes the media drums up a lot of things that sometimes we kind of feel bad about, but, I don't think...
water under the bridge.
It's all water under the bridge.
Minister, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Happy to be here.
Great. John Pundari, the Minister for Climate Change, as well as Environment and Conservation. Coming up after the break, new hope for kidney patients.